Cannon with Dream Maniac. For more of his excellent music, check the link to his Bandcamp in the description below. Hello, and welcome to the 5th installment of Transatlantic's Countdown to Cyberpunk commentary series. This week we're covering 1988's Akira, the Japanese anime classic. My name is Kindred.
And I'm Bad Juju.
And we are watching this on the UK Blu-ray. I believe it's a couple of years old, 2016, 17, I can't remember, but it's the most recent Blu-ray edition anyway on the PAL region. So, if you have your copy, get ready to press play now. So, it's kind of about time we covered this, really.
Long overdue.
Well, you can't really do a countdown to cyberpunk films without really covering Akira.
Yeah.
Akira. Either way, I'm butchering the pronunciation of it.
Akira.
I always kind of feel weird about, even pronounce things with a real accent, because I just think I sound like a pretentious dickhead.
Well, how do you say manga? You say manga or manga?
I think
say manga
over here I think it was manga. That's how everyone used to say it when I was a kid growing up.
When I was growing up, the accurate way, so they say, is manga. So that's the way I continue to pronounce it.
You guys had like Japanese comics and anime before we did anyway, because I seem to recall it kind of came over here in the early to mid 90s. That I noticed. I want to say it's some like 93, 94, something like that I noticed. And
I think mostly how people got a hold of this in the 90s was bootleg VHS copies, because there wasn't a major theatrical release in the States, I don't think, for this film.
Well, it was very much a kind of I don't know. It was, see, if I recall, it was like released by Manga Studios. This bunch of
you mean here?
That came
right.
over here, and I can't remember all of them, but there was a handful at first, and it was like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Crying Freeman, maybe like Appleseed, G Police, I think, maybe Ninja Scrolls. What else? Said Ghost in the Shell, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I can't remember. One or two others, basically. There wasn't a lot. There was about 8. Maybe Blood the Last Vampire.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Forgot about that. Did you guys eventually get? It came
Macross
out.
Plus, I seem to remember as well.
Did you get the later installment of Vampire Hunter D? That was Bloodlust, I think.
Yeah,
because that came out in like 2000 or 2001.
No, we got
okay.
No,
so you got that later on. You're saying in the 90s.
Yeah, I'm just saying when anime first came over here.
What about Metropolis? Did you?
Well, no, it all came. Obviously, don't get as much as you, but then the point is, it came to us later.
Sure.
I'm sure there were specialist shops. I mean, I grew up in a small town, But I remember like when I saw them advertised. When they were doing like a sort of national sort of push on an advertising campaign, those films that I mentioned were the ones that were getting pushed. But like I say, I grew up in a small town, so it's not like I grew up in London or any big city where they probably had some specialist shops that So I'm not speaking on behalf of my own country. I'm talking about me.
Yeah, I do think it was probably a little bit easier for us to get it.
Well, it did come to you first, though.
Yeah, I think there was also more of a demand, or at least the demand grew.
Well, Europe in general, I think, sort of got all the Japanese stuff after North America did. So anyway, go on. You're the artist. Talk some art stuff.
I'm talking some art stuff. Put me on the spot.
Say why this is so impressive.
That's so impressive. Well, I mean, it's probably like one of the most expensive animations ever produced. I don't know if it it still holds the record for like
Probably doesn't, but
yeah. I mean, it cost them 10 million to make this at the time.
9 or 10?
No, it was 10.
Definitely 10.
10 million. Yeah. Probably nowadays you wouldn't even see that much money being thrown at any hand-drawn animation. Well, actually,
Well, you wouldn't, because you won't. Yeah, it wouldn't get done.
Most hand-drawn feature films really don't exist anymore in the U.S. or at all. They've closed down all their studios. Most animation, like hand-drawn animation, is usually done out of the States anyway. And like the only thing that's
that guy's just really just gets his head just mashed into the table there.
Well, at first, like when he first hits him, it looks like his head explodes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was like they missed, like if that was like a color pop, like they missed their opportunity to color that in, or
I don't know.
It's a mistake. I think you can kind of forgive them though.
Oh no, it's
considering
brilliant.
The amount of animation. There's like, I think there's over 160,000 frames, like individual
I think
frames.
it is something like 160,000. I think, yeah.
And there's over like 3,000 plus what?
Because they shot it in ones, didn't they, darling?
Yes, they
And what does that mean for the viewers at home, listeners at home who don't know?
Yeah, animate. Because when you animate in ones, it's usually 24 frames or individual drawings per second. I think now it's even gone up even further. Some people like to do 30 frames per second.
Well, it's not. I mean, TV classically, anyway, and film used to always be 24 frames a second, didn't it? Even like live action stuff, that's the standard.
Yeah.
Still is in a lot of places.
Usually, computer animated movies are animated that way because it just doesn't look right. I mean, the action has to be smooth. Animation, you can kind of take liberties. Like you see even in anime or even Western cartoons, like they'll just use the same continuous shot to save money.
Yeah, just single frame for 30 seconds while someone's standing against a wall or something like that.
Yeah, or somebody's looking very sad and melancholic. They'll just...
What's the difference between shooting in ones and twos then?
Oh, God, you're really going to put me on the spot.
Look, I know this, so you know this.
No, I do. No, in twos, it's 12 frames per second.
So when you're doing ones, it's basically for every second, you've got about 24 frames,
yeah,
24 individual drawings.
It's a lot smoother. But
24 cells, don't you, really? Like,
or individual drawings, yeah.
Whereas if you do it in twos, you'd only have 12.
Yeah.
So you basically got half as many images to the second.
Or like every other frame.
Yeah. So
I was originally going to be an animator, but I decided not to because I couldn't deal with all the math.
It looked too much like hard work.
Oh, when you decide to draw comics, you're drawing half the amount. It's still a lot of work.
You're basically drawing one frame a month. You look at it that way. Lazy bastards. Yeah, just dog gets nailed in the head. 2 dogs. Got a bit of blood splatter.
I'm not sure why I didn't remember that.
When I didn't remember that either.
I remember everything else. It's just that I didn't remember.
Maybe you never know. It might have got cut in the original US release.
You know what I think? You know what is probably throwing me off with this copy because it's restored. The original one, if you look at it, or if you look at even like older
You're talking
anime
about
from
VHS or early DVD release.
Yeah, if you look at like anime from like the 90s or the 80s, it's a bit darker, it's a little more gritty, like you see a little bit more of the dirt on the cells. I like that.
See, I am on the fence about that.
I know you are.
I am. I'm truly on the fence about it. Because on the one hand, this does look more vivid and it's sharper and it's a crisper image, and I appreciate that. But on the flip side, I do see what you're saying, because that murk you get with the sort of like the VHS copy, it does add a certain amount of atmosphere to it. So I mean, I do agree with what you're saying on that.
But what level. I do appreciate about this, because what's also groundbreaking about this film too, is they chose to shoot, or I should say, they chose to animate the majority of this film at night, meaning that they had to come up with all different kinds of colors to depict night.
Well,
and I think
the shadows to think about more as well.
I think they came up with like 300 plus colors or something to that effect. I mean, even the way that they're hand animating or like painting the light, that's not digital. There's no computer involved.
Oh, no, it is. I mean, I've got to say,
like whoever was in charge of that had to remember every little minute detail, the way the light bends over objects, shadows created by that light, or even like look at the tiniest details. Look, even the rocks have the shadow, the way the light is facing. That's amazing.
It's the sort of thing, I think, with most people who aren't really into animation, who are just watching it for entertainment reasons, it's one of those things where, like, you might not notice it straight away, but you'd notice it if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It sort of adds a certain amount of sort of je ne sais quoi to it. Like,
yeah.
You have to, your average viewer who, like, I mean, just the ball ache that must have been all those bits of falling glass.
But
as
also
well.
The satisfaction, and I swear I thought I saw a Kleenex advertisement in this.
Well,
they painted it into the background.
Canada's bike's covered in like logos and stuff. I wonder if any of that paid for any of the film.
And the layers of animation, because like obviously the majority of these backgrounds are still, except for like the little minor details that they have. And I wonder, I think that they used a little bit of computer animation, but when I say a little bit, I mean it's really minor.
It does. See, it's weird, right? Because I was saying, like, when I first watched this, I mean, I think this might have actually been the first anime film I saw. If it wasn't the first, it was literally one of the first 2 or 3 I ever saw. But I think it was the first. And I know it sounds really infantile and stupid to say this, like, but from a British guy, early 90s when I was like a young lad, it was just, to me, it was like, wow, they make cartoons for adults? It's like, it's got blood in this.
You should have seen Grave of the Fireflies first.
No, I shouldn't. It's just depressing.
That was like one of the first ones that I ever saw as a kid. Besides,
it's not a good introduction.
Well, besides Speed Racer and G-Force or Gotcha.
I'll tell you, the first sort of anime I ever saw was like 1970s Guy King series, which I had like a bunch. It was like some pound shop or something like that. They were selling all these videos for like, and each one had like about 2 or 3 episodes on each. They're selling for like £1 each. And I just bought those because they look pretty cool. But I still like that. Yeah, it's like hammy as anything though. Like, but it's, and obviously it's not to this standard in terms of animation. But it's great. The cat's decided to jump up at the window.
The cat is she wants to partake in the commentary. Little spark plug.
She can shut up. Pain in the ass. Anyway, so this kind of really blew me away when I first saw this, because I'd never seen anything like this at all in terms of animation. I mean, I'd never seen any sort of, well, again, like I said, I've seen Guy King, but I mean, I'd never seen anything like this. And it was just, to be honest, I seem to remember it, I wasn't even paying that much. So I must have been something like, God, I couldn't have been older than 12. I think I was probably more like 11 when I saw this. And I remember thinking, like, I remember not remembering what the story was about too much. I remember a few things that happened, but I was just too busy actually just
looking at
the animation.
It's filmed the way a live action film would be filmed. The level of composition, the way everything's framed. And then you realize, oh my God, somebody hand drew all this and painted this and inked it.
Well, I mean, now that obviously you and I both know, obviously as we got older and that, we learned about all the technical sides of putting this together. We understand why it's so good. But then, when I was a kid, I just saw like this feature film. I just couldn't, just remember thinking how smooth the animation was.
Well, I think you take it for granted, right? Because you can't even imagine that, for example, that even a close-up of a character that's animated, something like that could take like 1 to 2.5 days to do.
Little Benjamin Button there.
One of the espers. Or the little extra sensory perceptive people. Children.
All right, Weave.
I'm not. No, That's what they call them.
I know.
And then, people in real life, they actually think that they're espers too. You get the psychics and the people that can...
the people with walnut faces.
and Uri Geller.
Spoon benders. With walnut face spoon benders.
Let's see them try to recreate this in the live action version, which I swear I hope never gets made. You can't. Please.
DiCaprio's been trying to get off the ground for it's got to be at least a decade, more than that, about 15 years.
Is he doing it for the reasons because he goes, "Oh, this is really cool. I want to try to do my version of this," or
I think he's just like a mad fan. He's just like a mental fan. Look at the lighting on his face, so as the door opens, it's the attention to detail is so good. It's just little bits of debris and dust and everything. Like there's so much stuff that you didn't have to include in this, and you could have got away with it, but it wouldn't be nearly as atmospheric.
Well, what's nice about this, which translates really well to the screen, is the manga feels very dense, just like this. So they capture that really well. Like it's just as detailed.
I haven't got around to reading all of it, but there's this really, I saw on Amazon, this really, well, I showed you, didn't I? That really nice sort of like box set of all the graphic novels. It looks really nice.
Now this is the Dark Horse publishing of it.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Miniature Kingpin / Dr. Robotnik.
It's like, I don't want to go home. I want to go back to that lab.
I just want some face cream.
They're just trying to change the world.
See, how old's Canada supposed to be? I mean, how old are all that gang supposed to be? Aren't they supposed to be fairly like 15 or something like that?
I always assume that they range from ages 15 to 18.
Because that's the other thing as well. I mean, like it's
also,
quite ambiguous.
It takes place in the year 2019.
Oh yes, then it correctly predicted that the Tokyo Olympics of 2020.
Exactly. I don't know how they did that.
It's incredibly confident that even in a dystopian future Japan, they'll still get the Olympics.
Like, don't worry, there could be a crater in the middle of friggin' Tokyo, but we're having the Olympics.
I just realised I haven't set the automatic level control.
There you go.
Mic. Should be all right. 147. Actually, that's a point. It should have worked out when the Olympics is actually taking place and put us 147 days beforehand.
It's pretty crazy, though, that they were able to do something like that. Or they just assumed, by 2020. That's the only thing that this film got right.
When was Akira first started? When did he first start writing? In the early 80s, was it? I
think like 82.
Yeah. See, I do find that, I mean, I can't work out how much of that is supposed to be, hey, I'm trying to predict this, or if it's just, look, we know it's not going to, whenever it's like that near future dystopia, is that the writer genuinely thinking, hey, the world probably will be a mess by this time? Or is it them thinking like, it's got that kind of in the year 20, because the Japanese love the term like 20XX, don't they?
Well, the thing is, I mean, they're not wrong. We kind of are living in a dystopic world. I just don't know how far along the timeline we are. Like, is this like...
We just need I don't know why I'm passing you that.
Oh.
Do you want some beer?
Yeah, thank you. I'll have some Carlsberg. Thank you very much.
That's a Carlsberg export. Shouldn't be giving an American booze.
I thought you were going to say a minor. I'm a minor. I'm a minor because I'm mini. I'm super tiny.
Don't be saying that.
I know I'm not stupid.
People are actually, why don't you make out like I'm supplying booze?
No, put it this way. My 20s are gone. There you go. I actually
spend all that money on a grenade. See, I always thought his face reminded me a bit like some like the sort of goofy animes where they kind of make a ridiculous over the top face.
Well, that's the thing. Nothing is really super exaggerated or symbolic.
Well, it's just really brutal.
Smash him in the face.
They're really liberal with the blood, aren't they? Because it's just him just getting properly his face smashed into the ground. It's just like this bloody smear. Oh, Canada. It's because he's, try and get a girl out of jail. I think that'll get you a date, son.
Now that the colors are brighter, it is a little hard to tell them apart because the red is so similar. Because I remember from the original copy, they had different colored jackets, or like the red wasn't as...
Well, I remember seeing Terminator 2 on... no, it's not Terminator 2, the original The Terminator. And
Deathstroke the Terminator.
Deathstroke the Terminator. Not that one. The film, darling. But,
I know.
But yeah, I remember thinking for ages after seeing it on VHS and DVD, I thought that Kyle Reese's coat was blue because it was mostly in the dark with light on it. It's only since I saw it on Blu-ray, I was like, oh god, it's green.
What is it, like a dark green?
No, it's kind of light green, sort of like a mint green kind of thing. Because I remember seeing like the NECA action figure before I've seen it on Blu-ray and go, why has he got a green coat on? I'm like, oh no, it's actually green.
So how close do you think the fashion is now to what they're wearing? Because I'd say it's pretty similar, because a lot of people do like the 80s fashion. It kind of goes back and forth. I'd say we kind of wear similar things.
Fashion always goes in cycles, doesn't it? I think
nobody's wearing red pants, but red
jeans. This sort of 30-year gap in terms of fashion. Like anything that happened 30 years ago was in fashion. Because I remember in the late 90s when I was in college, sixth form college, and like I had some flares, a lot of 70s stuff.
Were they corduroys?
Damn straight they were.
Were they brown?
No, they're black actually.
I had brown corduroys.
Corduroys.
Corduroy, sorry.
Sounds like a corduroy.
Corduroy, that's what I meant to say. I can't
Doctor,
speak.
You got any ointment? I got terrible corduroys.
Oh God, yeah.
I can't sit.
They're itching.
I gotta sit in a donut.
All right, stop making. I know, because sometimes I say jewelry instead of jewelry, because because I got problems. I got a speech impediment. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Thank you very much.
Just gonna make some joke about being American then.
No.
just like here,
I'm a New Yorker first and foremost.
Come at me, Yanks. I like you, really.
No, you don't. He makes fun of you all the time.
Make fun of you all the time. Don't bring
too.
Everyone else into
No, it's everybody else too.
No, it's just you. It is just you,
no,
really.
it's everybody else too.
Anyway. Back onto the film.
Back onto the film where they're torturing this poor child. They gave him a tumor. Now he's got powers.
It's not a tumor. We're in a weird sort of like...
Basically, he got hit in the head.
Gyroscopic MRI.
Tetsuo's psychic powers are awakened now.
But spoilers for people who are watching it for the first time along with us for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Like, you didn't already know where this was going. That's what they're talking about right now. He's a golden child. He's showing...
He's Eddie Murphy.
He's showing signs of blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he's going to become a raging lunatic. Thank you very much.
For anyone who hasn't seen this before, we don't need to watch the rest of the film.
There you go. And anybody who's read the manga,
Anyway, we should add that we are watching the 2001 dub, isn't it?
Yes.
Cause
much better than the 1990 dub. Oh my God.
Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? Because I seem to remember when I was young, because I remember when I saw it on VHS. Obviously, it was VHS, so you didn't have the option of subtitles or dub. It was I think again a lot of the early VHS copies of the early animes that came over here were just dubbed. That was it, and then later on you get the option of subtitles, because I think they just assumed that stupid Western audiences wouldn't want to read subtitles, and to this day, after someone who's worked at cinema for many years, most of us are that culturally ignorant, so they were right. But the point is, the point is, like, I seem to recall people made a big song and dance about how bad the dub was at the time, which it was.
Well, yeah, they got a Cam Clark to do the voice of Kaneda. So if you don't know who that is, Cam Clark originally did the voice of Leonardo in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Well, yeah. Well, I didn't know any better, to be honest. So I just watched it and was whatever. But then
he's kind of got like that typical surfer.
Well, no, I seem to recall I got the special edition DVD that came out in 2001. I think I got it about a year later when I was in uni or something like that. And that I just watched the subtitled version there because they hadn't. Or was it? Yeah, I think it must have had the new dub on it as well.
Smacking the shit out of kids.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
Well, it's the year 2019. That's what you do.
It's kind of weird because
Physical punishment.
All you see is just everywhere that's like full of urban decay and graffiti everywhere and everything. But at the same time, you don't actually really see, apart from like Kaida and like the Capsule Gang, and you don't see that many other you don't really see that much crime going on in the background, do you really?
No, I mean, obviously in the manga it goes into it a lot further. Like you see more drug use, you see more of the gang activity and what the governments are trying to do. I just missed that part. I didn't realize he was puking up that much blood.
It's all fun and games, so you puke up some blood.
Oh, that was great.
Canada, badass, wearing a nice salmon polo shirt there.
Yeah.
Such a rebel. Looking like he's going dressed to play a round of golf.
We actually used to have salmon-colored polo shirts in high school. It was part of the uniform.
Isn't it quicker for the teachers just to tell you that they hate you?
Well, we had a bunch of different colors. I mostly just wore black and like navy because that's the only colors I really liked. Because I'm
a big goth.
Because I'm super edgy goth.
Super edge girl. It does look rather good though. It is. The problem is when I saw it when I was a kid, the first time I was just like, oh, cool, like edgy adult type cartoon with lots of violence and sci-fi themes in it. And as I got older, I just really kind of studied it, and I was like, wow, look at the shadows on that. Look at the colours on that.
Well, yeah, probably what's also better about the restored copy is you do get to see how vivid the palette that they used for the movie.
I also thought Tetsuo looks a bit like a young Ant McPartlin. Now, you don't know who Ant McPartlin is.
Okay.
But he's a well-known TV presenter, formerly of a kids' drama when I was little. He's kind of part of a double act.
He has a big head like that?
Yeah. I think he used to get called Mekon when he was at school, you know, like down there. So, any British listeners out there, say in the comments whether you agree with me on the Ant McPartlin thing.
I'm going to be like, accurate.
Get ready to rumble. Well, he also had a short-lived pop career. It was all crap. I'll show you later.
Yeah.
He's an alcoholic now, so it's all good.
What kind of pop was he doing? Like synthy pop?
No, or? God, no. It's just, I don't know, shit.
just pure crap.
Just shit. Canada's rocking back.
Yeah. Also been used to death. How many people have copied that in like music videos or...
And there's so many fanboys as well.
Shout out to Kanye. Oh boy.
Oh, no, don't get me started on him. Just, Mr. Gayfish. So I've just got South Park on the mind right now. Fish sticks are breaded. I'm a musical genius.
Kim's a genius. I'm a genius.
Oh, jeez.
See, those bikes look actually way more practical than the Capsules gang's bikes. Because Otomo was, he said he was really influenced by Easy Rider.
See, the thing is, I think Kaneda's bike looks very sort of Sid Mead-esque in terms of the design.
Well, it definitely looks more, like you said, it looks way more sci-fi. Out of all the other
uncomfortable bit where just punch in the face, because I just always thought it was especially uncomfortable just because I don't know, she just didn't seem, she seemed especially young as well to me.
Well, yeah, I think the point of this is it's supposed to be like, it's not supposed to make you comfortable.
True.
It's a lawless dystopic future and teenagers acting like adults. I mean,
don't quite get why Canada jumped off his bike then.
I know, he would have definitely smashed his face in, because I did that once.
Or do you just not want to wait till you get right up next to your bike? So, how was he in front?
I wasn't on a bike like a motorcycle bike, but I was riding on somebody's just regular, bike with pegs, and I jumped off, and I wasn't able to do that thing. I just fell flat on my face.
I believe that.
And skinned my knees.
See, my dad used to have a motorbike, and then
he sold it because you were born.
He sold it because he made the mistake of not getting me aborted. Just think he could have had some freedom.
Oh, pretty dark for this.
Just saying, I wouldn't blame him
for this podcast.
I kind of thought it was funny, but possibly not everyone will share my sense of humor.
See, how this differs in the manga is Kaori and Tetsuo actually have a very, very toxic relationship. This was obviously put into the movie, I guess, to make them a little bit more sympathetic. I would say more of the characters in this universe, this abridged version.
Also, to be fair, the manga series is pretty long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's way more character development, and
so to condense it into just a 2-hour film, I mean, it's a lot of work.
And I feel as though the characters, like here in the film, they come across as like they're victims of their circumstance, whereas in the comic it's like, well, what you get is what you see kind of thing.
But I mean, again, like you have
they're
far
not
more
great
time,
people.
You have far more time for character development, and also, I think, like, again, if people aren't familiar with the manga at the time, which I don't believe he'd finished, had he, by the time this film was made.
That I don't really
think
remember.
He had. I could be wrong here, but I don't think he had. He hadn't quite finished it. Unless I'm getting confused with someone else, but I don't think I am.
I mean, sometimes that does happen.
Yeah.
People, shows start and the career is not necessarily finished. Game of Thrones, just saying.
It's a shame we don't get to cover that on the Cyberpunk channel, because
would you want to?
No, because it's awful. Sorry, I'm not even gonna look. I was never the hugest fan in the first place, and the way it ended was just, it was just insultingly bad from a writer's point of view.
Or as my cousin put it, I literally can't buy the DVDs or the Blu-rays now.
Well, it couldn't have been more insulting to its fans. It's like sticking a middle finger up at anyone who cared. But anyway, look, we're not talking about that load of toss.
It's okay. It totally applies. No, it doesn't. It's all right.
Try to shoehorn it into something much better. Let's talk about about something that's
far
good.
Superior.
Yeah. Right, I'm getting a beer. Entertain the kids. I know you hate doing this when I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I do. You always do this. He literally likes to do this all the time.
Just talk more bollocks about art and stuff.
Yeah. Art. Bollocks. There you go. I said that wrong.
Yeah. Great job.
Well, what I forgot to mention initially was the when the motorbike chase scene was going on, was all the different parallaxes.
Oh yeah, talk about parallax stuff.
Yeah, it sounds actually dirty when you say it like that. No, they were using still images in the way that they were.
Michael, tell me about the parallaxes.
Yeah, well, let me tell you about the way that they used foreshortening and still images to show movement.
Go on, educate the kids.
Oh yeah, let me educate.
So I brought you cider.
I am a.
Brought you tolerance juice.
I have a BA
in well finished sentence there.
Well,
BA in Barakas.
No, I was going to say in cartooning and illustration. There you go.
So was this much of an influence on you then, dear?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I didn't finish what I was saying about like the whole use.
Yeah, get back to what you're saying.
Yeah, let me get back to what I'm saying, because now I sound like a complete tard. Thank you.
Yeah. In your own time, love.
Well, yeah, because I know that some people see that as a cheat, right? Because I've heard that discussed before on some channels, where the use of using like static images to depict movement, but I don't really see it like that. It's just a new. Yes, I'm talking in the direction of the mic. Yes, there you go. Anyway, forgot what I was going to say.
You don't see it like that. You don't see it as a cheat.
No, I don't see it as a cheat. Thank you very much. You finished what I was going to say.
Why don't you see it as a cheat?
Well, because it's like the same way that you use certain shortcuts or aids like to help you draw in comics. It's just a different way of depicting movement. And it's also probably a lot easier too.
Well, again, I think I'm sorry, I refuse to nitpick.
Well, it's almost like, for example, sorry, I know. Sorry, honey. It's all right. I like to interrupt you because you talk way too much anyway.
Not on this bloody podcast, yeah. I'm not.
No, well, for example, like in concept art, most people they'll tend to do studies in grayscale and then they'll paint over that. I've heard some people say, but that's a cheat. It's like, why? You're figuring out tone and shade and tint. So how and the different lighting options. Why is that a cheat? That's a better understanding of what you're trying to do.
No, yeah, sure. I mean, again, I was gonna say, like, I'm not about to nitpick a $10 million like hand-drawn animated masterpiece for a couple of tiny little. I mean, I can understand that why some people would make some criticisms, because, to be fair, from a technical point of view, they're valid criticisms, but really, like, it's the sort of stuff that fundamentally is a drop in the ocean for what this film is. I mean,
well, I'm sure they spend way more money on CG stuff now.
Well, again, like you say, this would never get made now, because at the end of the day, it just wouldn't be. No one would spend that much money, proportionally speaking, because obviously, like, $10 million now, as opposed to 31 years ago, you adjust for inflation, it's no longer $10 million. Not that I know exactly what it would be.
I don't know. What are you looking at? More like 40 or 50 million?
I don't know. I'll cheat and look on my phone.
Okay.
No, I mean, I just think, well, there's no way that it wouldn't. I mean, they wouldn't let you just do hand-drawn animation now. They'd insist on CG and a lot of stuff for the sake of. I mean, you're going to employ all those artists to do 160,000 individual illustrations. There's no way anyone would green like that.
Little by little, you've seen, like, even like in Beauty and the Beast, they're like, oh, we have the first, like, it's all CG room, and it's like, yeah, you can tell it doesn't look great, especially when they remastered it, which you know how I feel about that. I don't. Sure. I just think it loses a lot.
Right. Okay. So basically, let's have a look. I'm looking up $10 million now. It is. Let's have a look. And it's not telling. Okay. $10 million in 1988 money. Well, in $10 million from 1988 is in 2019. It is $21,770,623.92.
So let's throw in a couple more, right? Let's say they gave them $25 million. They needed $25 million to complete something like this. It would never happen.
You wouldn't get it. Not in a fringe thing like this.
Yeah.
But because I don't think it did amazingly well in the West at the time. Maybe I think it's another.
No, I think it made 49 or 50 million. So isn't that pretty good?
Okay, then, fair enough.
I mean, for an animation worldwide,
just box office.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because especially, obviously, it developed a huge cult following in the time after, and it sold really well on VHS.
Yeah.
And Laserdisc as well, I think.
Oh, I had Laserdisc. I didn't have this on Laserdisc, but...
Never had a Laserdisc player.
No, I mean, it's
didn't get as many. I didn't know anyone who did when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what I actually had I think I had Man's Best Friend and Twister and... Oh, my God. Oh, God, you're bringing back memories for me. But... The Laserdisc that I had, it was a hand-me-down. Trying to think where I actually got it from. But it's like for kids who don't know what a Laserdisc is, think of like a CD and just and
more
just
like the size of a vinyl record.
Yeah, like a
though.
record, exactly. Just a giant CD.
CD-sized record.
Yeah.
Basically. But then a lot of them got laser rot, didn't they, over the years? A lot of them didn't actually decay.
Well, and you also had to be really careful because you had more surface to scratch, and once that was scratched, forget it.
Well, it was, again, it's like a...
Not really
like
practical,
a vinyl, really.
but
Yeah,
cool idea.
Yeah, but way better picture quality for the time than VHS.
No, it was.
And usually better audio as well if you had a decent... Anyway, we've gone off tangent again on bloody laser discs now.
No, but it's the future. Because that's what the...
In 2019. Just
in
like
2019.
Like mid to late 90s, all the high-tech data was kept on mini discs.
Yeah.
That lasted as a format for about 2 or 3 years before like MP3s just on the rise.
Well, what's bigger than a terabyte? Does anything exist now?
Yeah, oh God. Put me on the spot.
Well, yeah, you know more. I'm not very savvy.
Neither am I. But no, I've forgotten. I did know what's bigger than a terabyte. I feel like we haven't really been talking about the film that much.
Well, let's talk about the film then.
That is there
you go.
That's what
this is actually, I know that this is so silly, but this is actually one of my favorite like little scenes. It's just the ice sort of falling off the door slowly.
Well, again, it's the little details.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mist coming out of scientists' mouths and stuff. I mean, it's like there's stuff that, like I say, what I like about Akira is there's details I noticed on my third and fifth watching. Just little bits that I never noticed before. And it's just tiny little details. You think you could have, if you wanted to, you could have left those out and no one would have criticised you for it. Like, you could have got away with not including X, Y, and Z, you know?
Yeah.
But it adds so much. And I think, like, coming from a comic book background that you and I do, I'd liken it to lettering, right? Because this is why letterers don't get enough due, if you ask me, in making comic books. Because, like, you don't notice lettering if it's done well. You just take it for granted, but you notice it when it's bad, and it throws off the whole book.
And that's the thing. It's like all these little elements coming together make the movie. That's why it's so significant. And also, like we didn't say before, the main character, Akira, actually only appears as bits and pieces in this film rather than a fully formed human,
really
like
quite
he does.
Dark because basically a dismembered psychic child
so
in jars.
In the manga, he's actually he's frozen, but he's whole. In this one, he's dismembered.
Well, it's implied that because he's that powerful, you just don't want to take any chances. So
a little kid never had a childhood and just dismember you,
just
keep you
to bits.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it's also implied that he's still alive. See, I wonder how that would have worked more.
They kind of did that in the Immortal Hulk recently.
Really?
That Al Ewing's written. I've forgotten the artist, forgive me, but you've got to read that. It's so good.
Who does a very great...
Al Ewing's a fantastic writer anyway. He's one of my favourites, one of my heroes.
Karaoke impression of Shatner.
Does he now?
Yeah. Well, this was a few years ago. Yes. I went to an awesome Marvel karaoke party.
Right, well, if I ever meet him at a karaoke bar, I'll have a chat off with him. Because I do an awesome chat.
Fire.
Where's my dead torpedo? Oh, God. Again, don't get me started. This is not good, you and I doing a podcast, because you just get distracted and digress so easily.
That is true.
Now I'm thinking of Star Trek now.
Star Trek. How does this apply to Akira?
Tetsuo was the first Borg. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. And
actually, that's brilliant. Yeah.
#fanfic. Hashtag Borg go back in time. It's like a temporal paradox, and they find some young Japanese biker gang lad, and he's half machine, and they try and use him to assimilate everyone.
Like, the only weird... I was going to ask if there's been any weird, like, parodies or crossovers, like, comic-related stuff with Akira. I mean, I do know
There must be.
No, I know about Bart Kira because I almost participated in it, and then I couldn't. But, like, I wonder if there's, like, any crossover, like, this universe, like, with other characters from different universes.
The Japanese aren't that huge on crossovers, are they? Or bigger universes than that.
Well, I also wonder if, like, anybody ever pitched anything like that.
See, I don't want to be... Because I kind of want to give everyone a fair shot, you know, about stuff.
Oh.
But, again, and I'm sure DiCaprio is a hardcore fan. And in his own...
Lady Kyoko. Yeah. There you go.
In his own mind.
She has more of a role.
I swear to God, I'm never going to get to say anything else.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say...
I know, because you've been talking more in these podcasts. Now you want me to talk, but now you don't really want me to talk.
Well,
it's okay. I'll just be the woman.
Usually when I'm not
I'll just be the woman in the relationship.
Let's have a fight. Go on.
Let's have a row.
Go on.
There you go.
Right.
So cringy. Thank you.
No, I'm just saying, I'm sure he genuinely loves it, and I'm sure in his own mind, like, he show it maximum respect. But it's the sort of thing that if you gave me, like, all the money to do a live action, you know, remake, I just wouldn't want to touch it. I mean, I think there's some things that could do with an update or a remake, or it wouldn't hurt it at least, there wouldn't be any harm in it. I just think, like, I just wouldn't.
I don't think the tone or the detail is going to translate well. I just think the problem is, like, if you're that much of a fan... It's
Japanese J. Jonah Jameson.
Tetsuo. There you go. Oh, you're interrupting me now.
Bring me Canada. Sorry.
No, but I would really prefer if... Well, I think it's Taika Waititi. He's going to be directing it now, right? I would hope that, you know, he would involve Otomo, because it wouldn't make much sense if he didn't. You know, I kind of wish that he was a co-director in this, because I just don't think the vision. I don't think that you need to recreate something like this. It's the same thing with RoboCop. You don't.
Let's not get started on that.
It's literally. I mean, it's perfect for what it is.
Because I will bitch all night about.
I mean, it's a masterpiece. I don't think you really need to change anything. And
no, sure.
And the work is evident.
No, I
mean, it stands the test of time.
Perhaps, maybe, and it's a big maybe, if you really funneled a lot of money into it and made a really high budget TV series out of it.
Could be an HBO series.
Which was more like explorative in terms of more sticking to the whole manga series. So, you know, filled in more of the details. But A, you'd have to get that absolutely right. And B, none of that crap that they've done with Preacher, for example, where it's like, oh, let's like just pad out as much as possible. So we'll do the first couple of seasons as a prequel and stuff like that. And it's like, nah, just do it as long as it takes to tell the story of the manga. I don't want to hear how Kaeda first built his bike or where he first saw the color red or anything like that.
Well, I think, again, this movie is a good template because obviously Otomo was was he the sole director? There was other people.
Yeah, I don't know about.
But it was him and somebody else that wrote the screenplay. I'm blanking on it right now.
Yeah. It wasn't just him. I mean, someone else helped him adapt it.
It just goes to show you how, like, the creator can even make, you know, an abridged version of his original story, and it could be that much better. I think, you know. Well, sure. I think it is interesting though that he makes the characters way more sympathetic in this, whereas like I don't necessarily feel like they are.
Yeah, but I think
in the book
he's having to condense it, the whole manga series into a 2-hour film, right? So for anyone who's not familiar with the manga, and it's not like you just it's one book, pick it up, you can read it in half an hour, right?
Sure.
You know, so he's trying to reach a wider audience, and so he's following more traditional film tropes where you've got more of a hero, a villain.
Yeah.
You understand there's your person to root for. There's your
Sure.
And I think to be fair to him, when you've got that, when you have to strip down that much material, have to condense it into like one feature film format, you really have to streamline. And I think he was right to do it the way he did.
I agree. And then sort of pick your core group of antagonists and protagonists. But then again, I know that Tetsuo is an antagonist, but he doesn't necessarily feel that much.
Yeah, but he's a sympathetic villain, though, isn't he? That's the point. He's not... and you could argue and get all philosophical about it, like, the real villain is the government and society and everything else, and like, their surroundings.
Well, that's the direction that this film seems to be going more in.
Yeah. Well, they're victims of their circumstance and their upbringing, and I mean, you look at Tetsuo, like,
and
he's here right now through pure accident.
Yeah.
Okay, he might have been a bit of a dick before, but he didn't deserve to get kidnapped by a government agency and experimented on.
Well, yeah, it's really sad because in flashbacks you see that he was bullied and Kaneda protected him, and also he's kind of like the runt and he sort of feels helpless, like he can't protect Kaori when she's being assaulted, and that, that really seems to drive him to...
So creepy. So weird and gross and creepy.
Oh yeah, the lactating bear.
Bear that lactates through its pores with a weird...
I mean, I don't know if
it's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it looks like. I don't know if it was ever said, but I always just assumed that was breast milk.
That's because, you've got some Freudian shit to work through. But...
Oh yeah, well, I haven't asked the famous question. How does everybody poop? I know they're pooping in their pants because they're scared shitless from what they're seeing because everybody's hallucinating.
Well, what about Tetsuo at the end? How to do it? Does he even need to?
No, he pukes. He pukes. No, he poops from the front end.
Because as we all know, they got this from the South Park episode where...
Trapper Keeper. I am Trapper Keeper.
They went back in time and stole it. And again, this is from Die Hard, even though it's the same year.
Yeah.
I mean this with the greatest respect because I've got so much admiration for so much like Japanese creative stuff, like film and manga and anime and everything, but Christ, you've got a messed up imagination. And I mean that in a complimentary way, but you want to see someone disturbing, go to the Japanese. That's what I say. The only people who still have the ability to kind of creep me out.
Well, I also thought it was more about artistic freedom because I feel like maybe in the early 20th century, animation had it could be way more expressive. But I also think that they put way more regulation. Because if you look at old 30s cartoons, they're just really trippy and kind of scary, not necessarily for children.
Quite racist.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that.
And it's a little bit racist.
Actually, very racist.
Oh God, I showed you that advert earlier, didn't I?
I can't even believe that passed any kind of regulation.
I want to know, right, if there's any British or European listeners who remember this, right? I'm trying to think. It must have been from the late 80s, early 90s. Because I don't even think you can buy it anymore. But there's orange squash called Kiora. And they had this advert, which I think might have been an older advert originally, but they showed it again in the 90s. And it was just oh God. It was this little black boy, but it was real Song of the South kind of stuff. Really dark skin, big eyes, red lips, walking just along this sort of dirt track, and he had some Kiora orange and all these cartoon eyes, Dumbo style crows with Louis Armstrong style voices, dressed like black, African American stereotypes, like basketball players and the Southern Aunt Sally type thing. We're all trying to get his drink off him. And I remember even when I must have been about 6 or something when I saw that, and I thought, even then I thought, Jesus, that's a bit problematic. But it was done in the 1930s style, but that was a advert in the late 80s,
I
early
mean,
90s.
whoever thought that that was going to be okay when even back then, like, it still wasn't all right.
Mm.
And they said,
I mean,
no,
it
this
stood
will
out to me as
fly.
a small child. You know, like, that's kind of messed up. But anyway, veering away from problematic orange squash adverts. Speaking of that animation, I really want to play Cuphead still. I still haven't played it.
Yes.
Because I'm a sadist when it comes to video games, and I like games that punish me.
All hand-drawn and scanned.
It looks so good, though.
Yeah.
Animation's awesome. It is supposed to be absolutely nails, which means you'll be unspeakably crap at it.
Thanks.
You will be, though.
I am not. He's, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he's the worst to play video games with because he's there from the sidelines telling me what to do, and I'm just trying to relax and play a game. Don't say that I'm bad at it. Leave me alone. I figure stuff, but nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're the worst.
Did
I've
you
never
complete
in my
Echo
life.
the Dolphin?
The first one or
Yeah.
the second one, Tides of Time?
Either.
The second one.
Is that easier then?
Yeah, the first one is way
I was
harder.
going to say, I couldn't remember which one was harder, because I remember one of them was really hard.
I'm still stuck in what I've...
And the second one had a really messed up alien boss as the last boss. It looked really creepy.
No, the Vortex, it's creepy in all of it. She's horrible looking. Like, it's really scary. It's like a face.
It's a trippy game.
Yeah, the face like emerges from like a dark background. It's so scary.
Like sort of skeletal, weird xenomorph looking alien.
And some of the best music too.
So I always thought that kind of just like a G.I. Joe vehicle right there.
Oh, when it's flying through the sewer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like a little hovercraft.
Yeah. With a minigun on the front.
It's very Star Wars-esque.
It's G.I. Joe.
It's G.I. Joe.
Oh.
Yeah, hurry up. You gotta
What are you doing?
yeah, hurry up. I'm trying to to get this thing that's gonna like
Shoots
take my
everyone.
head off.
That's the sewer. I'm pretty sure one or two of those would be gas main pipes.
Yeah. And I'm sure it doesn't help because if they're in a sewer with like poop, then it's all methane, right? There you go.
True. Canada's kind of strangely bulletproof in this, isn't he? He takes a bit of a kick and then somehow remains pretty much unscathed.
Yeah. I mean, I know here he's supposed to be a little more likable in the manga. He's not. He's not really that. One thing that I am kind of disappointed about the anime versus the manga is like Kei herself. She has some kind of weird. She's like a medium. And they sort of show it, but they never really go into it. They never really explain that.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure it's really that important, but I just assume because they live in a post-apocalyptic world and, there's probably some radiation that everybody's developing supernatural powers.
Well, yeah, they do that a lot, though, don't they? I mean, in certain things. It's like 2000 AD, you got all like in Judge Dredd and Strontium Dog, you get your mutants, and some of them have like psychic powers because.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing that started in the 50s, really, in the comics, wasn't it?
Right.
Because you didn't really understand what radiation did.
Instead, in reality, you might just get cancer.
Yeah, it's like you can get superpowers or probably just cancer.
Your jaw will fall off.
Your skin will probably just melt and you'll die. It's like we know what it does now, which is why like nobody goes, well, it got, cosmic. You ever read oh god, what was it called? Marvel Ruins?
Mm-mm.
Something like that. I can't remember who wrote it. So I want to say it's J. Michael Straczynski, but I'm probably wrong. So I'm gonna have to Google this unprofessionally on my phone. But basically, it's what would happen if it's kind of a slightly more realistic take if all the things happened to the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's written by Warren Ellis. I do apologise.
You go.
I'm thinking of something completely different. I know what I'm thinking of now. Yeah, but it was just like a little 2-issue mini series, And it's like basically like the Hulk got hit by, Bruce Banner got hit by a gamma bomb.
Right.
And instead of just making him into a giant, super strong Hulk, just basically turned into a giant walking tumor, and he just died. Like Peter Parker got blood poisoning from the radioactive spike. It was just all the
Why
kind of
is
more
this
realistic.
more? This is more up my alley.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
really morbid. You'd love it. Like it's more like what you'd imagine would actually happen to people if the superhero origins happened. You know,
Yeah,
like,
no, I like that way better.
it's really depressing. But it's Warren Ellis, so he's a morbid bastard. God bless him. Huh. Yeah, you should read it. I think I've got him somewhere. I'll have to have a
I
look.
definitely will.
I haven't even looked at my collection in ages. They're just all sitting there gathering dust, all bagged and boarded.
I've had to downsize over the years because you just accumulate so much stuff.
Well, that's why I stopped buying singles. Really, I mean, I'll buy singles digitally, but I'll still buy trades like physically because I like having. Well, then you just got a book on your shelf, haven't you?
This is definitely a must have.
No, I really want that box set, that Dark Horse box set, 'cause it looks so nice. And you still haven't got me any Fist of North Star yet.
I promise you, I will.
I do love Fist of the North Star. We haven't even played the PlayStation 4 game yet, which is awesome.
Yeah, because I don't want to be told that I'm crap at it. Thank you very much.
It's quite tricky. It starts off quite easy though, so you'll be okay at the beginning.
No, thanks.
It gets hard towards the end.
You act as if I've never touched a controller before.
You play like you've never touched a controller.
Oh, that is such crap. You know it. You're full of shit.
Just try to work out how YouTube's going to grade this. I can't work out if we've hit our S-word quota.
They're going to be like
the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
They're going to be like, absolutely not. We're giving this an R rating. Children are going to listen to it.
Nice not drop an F-bomb yet, which is really impressive for me.
There you go.
I'm getting good. Love his face. No. Yeah, again, Tetsuo rocking the Ryu torn sleeves there. Gonna get into a street fight.
Yeah. I could never tell if he magically made his hair grow or if this is supposed to take place over the course of like a few days.
He can't because his head's still massive. So like a massive light bulb head. Still looks like Ant McPartlin. Again.
You have to show me a picture now.
I'm going to do that. I was going to do that surreptitiously, so you can have a little giggle, but while at the same time just, covering. But you could be helping me out here while I'm just talking rubbish.
Oh, yeah.
And, just covering for me while I'm just looking for a picture of Ant McPartlin.
Toad's going to cover for
you. There you
go. Wow. Actually, wow. That's, oh my God.
There you go.
That is pretty accurate, I must say.
There you go. Use the de-aging software, Ant McPartlin. Get him playing Tetsuo. By the way, he's a Geordie. Right? So, like, why oh no! I got Seiki Powers League.
What is that?
Sorry
what do
to Geordies, that's terrible.
Away lad? Was that?
Away lad.
Away lad. It's horrible.
And see, Decker's comedic partners a rather large forehead as well. So both got massive foreheads. That's Ant and Dec. Ant and Dec can both play Tetsuo from different angles. There you go.
Now I have a question. Do you think that the casting, if they ever get the live action off the ground, do you think that there's gonna be a wide range of like Asian actors, like Southeast, Chinese, Korean, Japanese?
Do you know what,
do you think Ken Watanabe, they're gonna bring him out? Like he's gonna.
To be fair, Ken Watanabe can be in anything as far as I'm concerned.
I know, no,
he's awesome.
He is, no, he's fantastic.
Ken Watanabe just like improves the quality of anything he's in just by being it.
I wonder if
2014 Godzilla was crap, but just that line where he's just like, let them fight.
Oh, he was in that. Jesus.
Yeah, but that whole let them fight. Did I tell you? I told you like my old mate Jun. His dad who was an actor. He was mates with Ken Watanabe.
Really?
Yeah, they used to go around to his house all the time
don't
for
tell
tea.
me that. I love.
I know. I said that to Jun at the time.
God.
No, he was. Yeah, no. I was like, oh wait. He's like, oh, do you like Ken Watanabe? It's like, of course I do. Who doesn't? The dude's a legend.
No.
But that was after because he met on the set of Last Samurai,
Right.
starring sofa jumping Scientologist extraordinaire Tom Cruise.
He's amazing. He does all his own stunts.
Yeah, he denies stuntmen a decent day's pay for his own ego. You're right.
The aliens are on his side, so I bet you he's going to be storming Area 51.
He's what's inside.
He's already there. He's gone.
And he's not acting. He's guarding the cryogenically preserved corpse of L. Ron Hubbard.
and Walt Disney, which is actually a myth.
What?
Disney. No, he was cremated. So
was he?
Yeah, he was.
Know that.
Yeah.
You know, I said to you about that sound level thing. Again.
I know.
I'm having
sorry.
to move the mic back
I'm
now.
sorry.
Because you've warmed up now.
I'm sorry.
This is what happens with Juju every time, right? We do the sound test.
No, and
then shh. And then she starts.
You better not. I swear to God.
And then she starts off, and I get her to like do a sound test, and then she always just starts talking really quietly. So like I adjust the sound levels and move the mic.
No.
And then as soon as we get going, you're like wow, and you redline the whole audio levels.
What he doesn't understand is my voice is actually weak, and I actually have a tired voice.
Doesn't sound like it now.
Yeah, not now, because I have a little bit of alcohol in me. When I say little bit, very little.
Can you just get you drunk first and then just do? I think that's the plan for the future. Just get you drunk and then just straightway pow do the podcast.
No, but I also just think in general my voice is a little bit weak. You're probably right. I do have to exercise it before I.
I'm gonna give you some like operatic lines.
There you go.
So you try to commune with a band of chimps. I kind of want to be like, what the hell, I can do this too. 'Cause what, fall? I can be affected by gravity also.
Yeah, he's like, I can sort of float. I can hover, which is not a very good superpower, if you ask me.
The Amazing Hovering Man. Have you ever seen that short? I think it's just called The Flying Man or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 10-15 minutes long. It's really good. I can't remember who made it. It's made years ago. It's probably made like a good, I don't know, it gotta be something like near 10 years ago. Something like that, about 10 years ago. And it's just about this guy, this flying man, it's set in a really like realistic, real world, modern day. And this flying man just appears out of nowhere, just silent, like a superhero, but doesn't say anything. And he just starts picking up criminals and dropping them.
You showed me that. I actually really loved that.
Did I?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And it was and it's just
really
ominous.
creepy.
Yeah, that's what's so good.
And
about
he kind of looks like a weird Silver Surfer. Like that's what's kind of scary about him too. He's kind of like genderless, and he's
Is he just kind of like wearing like an smooth bodysuit?
Yeah, you can't tell if he's actually. I mean, he looks like a man, but like I said, it's.
Well, you don't see his face or anything, do you?
Yeah. So. It's genderless, and I would assume that it's some kind of like an alien or like some kind of creature that is like taking on the appearance of something that looks like a man or looks humanoid.
Maybe it's just a psycho with superpowers.
True.
Hey, look, it's Chinooks. Like we're dropping aggregate and the dam of my hometown.
Oh yeah. Tell them about your little.
Yeah. Well, recently, my hometown of Whaley Bridge, the dam nearly burst and my hometown was nearly flooded.
Yeah, but because it was a person's fault, not because
some dipshit didn't open the sluice gate after heavy rain when the water had risen about 5 meters.
Yeah.
And so, like, the dam nearly collapsed, and it's still a bit going on now. And
again, like, how does that work? Did he or she like not wake up? Did they forget? They missed
understand, it? Right? Nothing happens there, right? Could you imagine? It'd be like it's like you live in a small town and being the person in charge of like volcano safety when there wasn't when there's like a dormant volcano 100 miles away that hasn't erupted in 2,000 years.
Right.
It's one of those kind of things, like it just doesn't happen. So you'd be like, yeah, it's never going to happen. You'd be that security guard sitting watching TV while the place is getting robbed, you know?
And Mr. Prime Minister showed up.
You know, less we say about that fat sack of crap.
What did he do? He just walked up a couple of steps and he said a few things and then he walked away. It's like, oh, gee, thanks for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like a tumorous ball sack sprinkled in hay. That's what he looks like. But anyway, I'm not getting all political about it because I've already done that.
No, but
Back to Akira.
yeah, his hair is like Tetsuo's.
Tetsuo's still got better. Ant McPartlin Tetsuo's still got better.
There you go.
Give some capsules.
Yeah, again, here, see, like, they don't usually show that much of the drug use.
They don't show Tetsuo's ass either. That's rubbish, right? Since when do you wear hospital gowns like that? With trousers, you know? Where's his arse? Yeah, I think it'd be way inject a bit of dark humor if his arse was flapping.
Yeah,
in the
but
breeze.
he was sort of like in a research facility, mental institution, so you probably would wear pants.
Why?
I don't know, because maybe he knows how to go to the bathroom by himself. He doesn't need a bedpan. I don't know. I don't know.
That's not the point. I want to see him attaining ultimate psychic power
with his butt exposed.
Ask Kira.
Well, then it wouldn't really be great because in this next scene, right here, because he's standing above him, you're gonna get like a nice ball shot.
Have you just scrolled up and you just saw his testicles first? It's just like pendulous sack.
It's like you think that it's actually the bag of pills. Oh wait.
I got capsules right here.
Then he teabags them to death.
Psychically teabags them. Just smash in the face like a sort of weird energy construct, like in God Hand.
Yeah, or he's like a reverse Green Lantern, or maybe he's a Red Lantern. He'd be the perfect Red Lantern.
The Purple Lantern. Beware my ballsack. Purple Lantern's might. Yeah, now we're doing a podcast.
There you go.
Testicle 2-0.
Test 2-0.
Nailed it. Testy 2-0, that would have been better. Don't worry, I'll edit it out. I won't. Oh yeah, wasn't this? I've forgotten the type of the sound, but it was recorded like experimental sound. Like I've forgotten what it was called, but it's supposed to be like subsonic sound, essentially. So it's unproven whether it works, but it's basically the audio version of subliminal messaging. Into obviously subliminal messaging can be audio, but I mean like it's subsonic sound that it's supposed to be on the fringes of the ability for the human ear to pick up. But it's supposed to affect you subconsciously.
Or does it also affect you physically too?
Well, I don't know. Well, it's all theoretical. It's never been proven. But the whole point was it's supposed to affect your mood in a certain scene in a more primal, subconscious way.
Because personally, a lot of the music in this or like the sound effects have made me feel very uneasy. Like it's supposed to strike something inside of you, especially when he's gaining all this power. I do feel like a bit queasy. Not like I'm going to puke or anything like that, but you slightly feel uncomfortable.
No, it does. I mean, there is something that sort of, you can't put your finger on it, but it feels wrong. Yeah. Feels off.
Also, just in the way they draw certain things, too, it creates a very, it's like a very visceral, like, you do feel very nauseated when you see it, because it's sort of like, what's the word I was trying to say? Like the same way when you look at Giger's art, right?
Yeah. Well, you say
it's
nauseated, I say it's a bit sexy.
No, I was just trying to say...
Sorry.
No, I meant like certain images in this movie and in the comic as well. They kind of, it seems like it deals with traumatic birth or rebirth, the same way that Giger's...
no, sure.
That's what I was getting at. Not that I'm sickened by Giger's work.
Well, no, but you got that biomechanical kind of thing where does the machine end and the flesh start, or vice versa. Also, I think what throws me off personally is because the way the characters are drawn, like the main protagonists are drawn, they're kind of like, you can't put your finger on how old they are, but they look young. Yeah. So even though, I don't know how old Canada's supposed to be, I can't remember, but let's say even if he's 18, he don't look 18. You know,
Sure.
he could be. I mean, he could be like a sort of. I see them more like child soldiers. You know, the way like I see the gangs. You know, I see them like they're more in the mid-teens and they're witnessing and taking part in all this horrifically violent and disturbing stuff, which I think makes it feel worse. If they were all like, if they were visibly, obviously, at least in their mid-20s plus, I don't think in the style that they draw in, I don't think it'd have the same impact to me anyway.
Well, a lot of anime and manga, they do use a lot of teenagers, like set against like these very adult worlds. Like even if you look at Gundam or like an
well, they are literal child souls in Gundam.
Yeah, or like a comic that I read years ago that I just happened to pick up, called Immortal Rain, or the Japanese version is Meteor Methuselah, which actually is one of my favorite manga series.
Weep. I'm joking.
Be quiet, you.
I'm only saying that because I know my knowledge of. I know what I know when it comes to anime and manga, but it's not that much.
You would like that one. It's actually like a dystopic sci-fi as well.
You know what?
It's beautifully drawn.
I love anything dystopian and sci-fi, so yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
So, I wish we could, find the time to do some like series and stuff, like, but it's just.
I know.
I'm a bit sketchy about like how many people would want to sit through if it's like a mini series, I'd consider it, but I'm not sure how many people would want to go, oh look, there's 5 seasons of whatever and we're going to do it blow by blow.
And also I'm not here with kin as often as I would like to be.
No, see, we've only got like another week together, just over. Well, no, pretty much, 8 days. So we're going to have to smash out the content, and in the meantime, I'm going to have to pad it out with me doing a terrible job on some Let's Play or something. I'm going to be all edgy and hipster and play some like old DOS games or something.
Yeah, and I can't yell at you from the sidelines.
You won't be able to anyway because I'm just too good at it.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Set myself up for a fall on that one, inevitably. And you just listen to this and just go, no. Just calling me out when I'm just playing everything on easy. That's not an attractive bike.
No, it isn't. It just looks like he put some cardboard around the wheels. just duct tape.
It's just like a moped. Just a moped with some cardboard. It's like the South Park bike parade.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was the best. No, because realistically, a bike like that just would never work. It would probably be too clunky, too heavy. Like, we were talking like really like a Ducati would be a much better sort of futuristic bike that they could model something off. Or I should say that would be the template.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, again, I'm not criticizing. So I think they do look cool. They do. But I do think they actually look a bit too sci-fi for the world around them. I mean, they look cool. The design of them look very cool. But then, like, I don't think it fits with the aesthetics of the world around them. I think it looks a bit too futuristic. But we were saying as well, like, Canada's bike, it's kind of got a low riding position.
Yeah.
Yet it's like built like a super bike.
Yeah.
Which is just, so basically, it's probably got, go 200 miles an hour. Not that you'd be able to possibly control it at that speed. That said, the amount of people who've made that bike themselves, and it's just clearly like just some dude who's either got more money than sense, or is just such a mad super fan that like they've just built it over time and just like probably driven their wife mad or something with it. Like, can we go on holiday this year? No, I've got to buy a new engine for my Canada bike. Some long-suffering partner.
But really, you would be riding it like a Harley, right? It would be like.
I imagine though, you'd have to be like so careful in terms of like tipping your weight one side or the other, because it'd be so easy to just completely just go over. Well, the point is you couldn't get up to any level of proper speed and then control it.
Well, there was somebody who did build the bike, though, didn't they?
I've seen it, but then I see him ride it, and it's like down some runway or something. So it's just like, he gets up to mad speed, riding in a completely straight line for like 2 miles or something.
Just basically ride that down a long stretch of highway.
Yeah, well,
But
armored
yeah,
cars work. Bullets work well against armored cars, don't they?
like even this part, it doesn't seem very futuristic. Right here, like the garden, it still seems somewhat traditional, or it could be. Well, it is set in 2019.
Well, yeah. Just like another film that we will be covering very soon. I'm not gonna say what yet, but anyone who's a big cyberpunk fan, there's not exactly the largest selection to choose from, so you'll figure it out.
The selection is massive.
Just wait till we start running out the classics and we have to dig into the quote unquote
We're gonna watch
air quote
Oh, I know, I was gonna say.
No spoilers. Let them wait. don't spoil the unbridled joy they'll feel. Oh. See, it's like, I think it's some of those most people you see on the street so far, isn't it?
Yeah, like even at the beginning, right? Like you still see people going out like to restaurants and
see that's what I find a bit sketchy, because I mean, not sketchy, that's the wrong word to use, but
yeah, there's all these gangs running around the city, but yet there's people, they're still out at like a diner or a restaurant.
Like no police, hardly.
Yeah.
Edgelord. Oh no! Why I'm angry, big spiky. Go ahead, and McPartland. Biker Grove. I'll have to show you some Biker Grove when we get off this. You'll have no idea what it's about. What's with the cape thing?
He's a corrupted superhero-like character. Because, you got to have a cape if you're a villain or a...
You do. Have you ever heard Joe Hill's The Cape?
No.
I think it's like 4-issue miniseries. It's just about a guy who basically had a special blanket when he was a kid and believed it was really special. And for some reason it just was magical. So he tied his blanket around his neck and it basically allowed him to fly.
Really?
But it just corrupted him. It's just like a really anti-superhero story. It's really good. Again, I'd advise anyone to read that, because I'm pretty sure it's like 4 issues or something like that. It's a fairly short read. It's a self-contained story. He did do a sequel, I think. I didn't read it though. I got all the money. Can hardly pack it in my briefcase. My beaver teeth.
Honestly, how is this guy still standing after he's been shot right through the gut?
Because he's badass.
Guy can't even enjoy his money because he's about to have a heart attack.
Apparently, one of the most painful things, though, I heard, to get shot in the stomach.
Oh, because if...
Well, it takes about 20 minutes to die, and because it perforates your stomach, and
so
the hydrochloric acid
yeah.
comes out, you essentially sort of like, apart from like the blood loss and stuff, you kind of bleed and burn to death from the inside.
So let's say...
It takes about 20 minutes of agony, basically.
So victim gets to the hospital in time. What's the what's the chance of survival?
I don't know. I think obviously it depends. I guess if somehow you get there really quickly, and in 5-10 minutes, maybe you've got a much better chance. But because again, the whole point about hydrochloric acid is very caustic. I mean, the reason why obviously it doesn't mess with is because your stomach lining,
the mucus,
negates that. But obviously, if it spills out of that, that's highly concentrated acid. So yeah, it's incredibly painful, I've been told.
Well, I hope that we never have to experience that one day. Thank you for scaring.
A bit of advice out there, kid.
Thank you for scaring the crap out of me.
Don't get gut shot.
Yeah.
I can't work out how well this mic is working, to be honest with you.
It's working. I see it.
I can always edit it a bit in post to a degree, actually, if I want to. I'm just a bit worried about sort of like sound continuity throughout all the videos.
Even right now?
Well, I can raise the volume up a little bit. You keep putting the top back on the bike.
Gotta protect that bike at all costs.
Why does no one steal it?
It's the coolest bike. I like that cannon.
Yeah. I like how he has lightning wheels at the beginning. What's that about?
Yeah. Did he have an electric bike before it was cool? Having electric cars.
Yeah. It's not that fast. Like a Sinclair C35.
Well, that's another thing too. Remember we commented on how the cars don't really look that futuristic. I mean, some of them are still kind of.
Well, there's nothing anywhere near futuristic looking as much
besides
as Canada's
the bikes.
bike.
Yeah.
See, what's the name of that character again?
Lady Miyoko, I think.
It had a way, way, way bigger role in the manga, right? Way bigger part. Isn't she voiced by a guy in the original dub?
Lady Miyako, sorry. I don't actually remember.
I'm sure she's voiced by a guy in the original dub.
But she's one of
brutal weapons.
Yeah, she's one of the original children, though. One of the original Espers.
Don't cross the beams.
Don't cross the beams.
Kind of like Lazookas. Laser bazookas. Screw everyone.
Yeah, you're not. Oh my God, you're not jumping that.
I love the way it's like, we saved you. Oh no, wait, you're just being crushed by falling masonry.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, you think it? Nope.
Yeah, and she actually, she also helps Kaneda and Kei a lot more.
She's a way bigger character than she in the manga. I seem to remember that. So I've read some of it.
Because in this, it just seems like she's a random zealot, and she actually has clairvoyance.
Yeah, it's almost like I wonder why they bothered even including her in the movie, just because she's got such a tiny part.
I would have thought that. See, like, let's say if they updated this, right? They want to add more stuff, or even back then they said, let's do a director's cut. What if they had decided, yeah, maybe Miyako's going to have much more of a role, and she's really going to help Kei and Kaneda. I thought, because it really seems like that the kids are the ones, they kind of assume that role.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to criticize it because it is. I mean, I'd hate to have to try and condense a long-running manga series into like a single feature film because it's so difficult. But then my point is more like, well, Lady Miyako, right? Mm-hmm. My point is she's such a small part in the movie. Why bother even including her?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't really do anything of any noticeable import in the movie, really.
Then again, I also wonder if that was just done for the sake of the fans.
Yeah,
you know,
just
the
like
book,
just
like
put her in there.
That's an Easter egg kind of thing. But it almost seems like it does a little bit of a disservice because.
Well, because she's such a major character, it's like for some reason if you had to condense Lord of the Rings, but you gave like Boromir like a cameo role. Surely if you had to really save time, just cut them out altogether, because then all you're going to do is show fans like, oh, you know that guy you really like? Well, he's in it, but for like a minute. And that's just going to kind of like get people's hopes up and aggravate them.
Or a similar thing with Joker in this, like one of the main gang members at the beginning, he actually teams up with them.
That's right, yeah, so he does. Oh, Canada. It just goes through my head every time I see his name. Tonight on I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. And McPart and Tetsuo.
Oh, I have another question. Who do you think they'll get if the live action...
She had a crush on him, sorry.
Who do you think they would choose to play Tetsuo or Kaneda?
No, we started talking about that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
See, I would like to think that DiCaprio is kind of right on enough.
Or Taika.
Considerate enough to cast, Asian actors in this.
Right.
Because, I mean, I can't comment because I haven't seen it. But I know, and I haven't seen it because, honestly, I wasn't in a particular rush to. But after the backlash of the Ghost in the Shell live-action movie, and from what I heard, the really insulting thing is like, no, I actually am Japanese. They just put me in a white person's body. Which I'm thinking, somehow that's worse.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, these, again, try to have your cake and eat it. Going, we're not really racist. It's just, we just want this film to sell.
It's just the excuse that we're not going to cast an Asian actress because, one, we know that Scarlett Johansson sells tickets.
Well, and she does.
Her face essentially sells tickets, so of course we're going to cast her and not somebody else.
It's tricky, though. It's tricky because, obviously, like, if I was to see, like, I grew up, I mean, like, on, like, Asian movies, right? Like, martial arts movies, anime, Japanese, a lot of Japanese horror. When I was like, when The Ring first came out over here. So when I was like, I don't know, in my late teens, and so I've always had a lot of love for Asian cinema and animation. But the problem is, the realistic problem is, it's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Because on the one hand, of course you should get Asian actors to play Asian roles. Of course you should. But at the end of the day, Hollywood's a money-making industry. Every movie out there, every studio out there, they want to make money.
And that's all they're thinking about.
Well, the fact of the matter is, they just, producers just see people as assets. And the fact of the matter is, in Hollywood, there aren't that many A-list Asian actors. So they want to make money, so they won't take the chance. However, my counter argument to that would be, well, how are you supposed to get A-list Asian actors unless you start to give certain Asian actors a chance?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Because so
it's a catch-22. So it's like, well, you can't really say that, because if you're never going to give them the opportunity in the first place, then how are they going to get that larger recognition from a larger audience? And I do think, like, I mean, honestly,
it's the studio's fault. They should have been doing this to begin with years ago.
No,
it's their fault.
And also, I think, I don't know why, but there's something about, apart from the fact that this is a huge classic with, like, massive fans the world over, you and me included, and it's called Akira, for Christ's sake. It's literally, the name of the movie is a Japanese name. And you're going to give that to, like, Chris Hemsworth or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying but you know what I mean? I'm just using him as an example. I'm like, that just feels like a real kind of kick in the balls, really, if you do something like that.
It just doesn't feel right. I just think, again, what the story actually is, the nature of it, the fact that Japan is sort of like a post-apocalyptic society. I've heard this before. That's why a lot of their art reflects that. I just don't think that Western film really gets it.
And it is a very Japanese film.
They'll make a fan film. They won't make a piece of art that's transcendent. You know what I mean?
And my point is that, here's my point, right? If DiCaprio was gonna fund it himself, it's gonna be an indie film, I believe he'd want to do it properly and faithfully. But you couldn't make a live action, a properly, a convincing, good looking live action version of Akira for like $30 million. It'd have to be at least a couple of $100 million. If you want to make it look like epic and scale
how
and
much
good.
was the last Batman film? Did they throw at like 200 to 300 million at it? Something like that?
What we talking about, like Batman vs Superman or what?
Yeah, it was one of them. They threw a lot of money.
Oh no, Christ, that was at least 300 million.
Yeah. So
I think they ended up spending like $1 billion on it, all in all, including the advertising deals and stuff, or near enough, or like 800.
And it didn't nearly make back
800 million or something like that. It was something insane. It was something like that in that region. Because again, like what a lot of people don't realize, is when you make a movie, if it's like supposed to be like a blockbuster movie, it's not like, oh well, that cost 200 million, it made 250 million, therefore it made a profit. No, it didn't. Because a movie that size, they usually spend about the same again as the film's budget on advertising.
Right.
So actually, chances are for that to make a profit, if it's $200 million movie, you have to make over 400 million.
Yeah.
To make a profit. Really, so like it's not quite as simple as that.
Yeah, because again, I mean, if it cost now with inflation nearly 22 million to make
it's nearer
this,
22 million.
Yeah.
Adjusted for inflation, this cost.
Yeah.
It was like 21.7 million.
Right. Just imagine the level of detail that they have. So they have to completely do that in all their sets. And you know that they're going to be like, well, we could like CG this.
Oh, it'd be CG to
digital matte painting.
And do you know what else to do, right? They end up getting some massive A-lister to play Canada and another one to play Tetsuo, probably, to sell it, who'd cost a fortune. Therefore, they've only left about 10% of the budget for all the CG and the effects.
Yeah, I don't really think it can be made. Well, it will probably get made. It just won't be good.
I don't know. It's one of those where I'd be surprised if it got made to a great degree. It either get made, but then it'll have the legs chopped out from under it in terms of budget, or it'll just be, well, it's been stuck in development hell for
You mean it's going to be like the new Hellboy?
Oh, Jesus, let's not talk about that.
Oh, that was painful.
Oh, poor Neil Marshall. He deserved better than that. So did David Harbour as well. Because,
I agree.
Classic case of studio interference from what I understand.
There was like 14 producers on that? Some crazy amount?
No, it was like 13 or 14 producers. That's never a good sign. That is never a good sign.
Can you just imagine like how many people talking at once, or people just quitting and saying like, I don't want to.
There's all kinds of script rewrites on the spot and that.
I don't want to work on this.
To be fair, we'll see. If you manage to get hit by an orbital laser and you still live, you're going to feel pretty badass.
I would too.
Or even if I was killed by that, if that's what it took to take me down, I'd feel pretty awesome.
Don't they have that in the... which game series? Gears of War.
Gears of War, yeah. The Hammer of Dawn.
Yeah. Oh, that's an even cooler name.
Hammer of Dawn, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, when the Gears of War series was still good.
Yeah.
But, no, because the first 3 games were really cool, actually. They were really, really good. The story was good, and it's like, I kind of like, I need to get a 360 again. Because I kind of just want to get those games. You can play that through co-op as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I bet you'd be able to get them for nothing now. Because a few years ago, you could get the first Gears of War for like £1 second hand or something like that. I played the 4th one, Judgment. It wasn't that, well, it wasn't Gears of War 4, it was Gears of War 3.5, I guess. Judgment, which wasn't that good, but then Gears of War 4 came out on the Xbox One, but I don't have one. I have a PlayStation 4.
His powers also include being
Skybeam.
Also include him being able to breathe in space, where he just holds his breath for a very long time. I don't know.
Like Saitama.
Exactly.
Only no one's as cool as Saitama.
Oh, that would actually be amazing. That would be an epic crossover.
No, it wouldn't, because he just punched Tetsuo and
No, I know, but that's the point. That's what I want to see.
Just like do like a fan edit, right? So basically like 95% of the original cut of the film, and then just at this point, Saitama just jumps from the moon.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't done that, unless they have.
Right, I'm getting that last side. I was sharing it.
All right. Well, I'm still working on this one because I'm very weak when it comes to alcohol. I can only drink a little bit at a time.
In one go.
In one go.
You can only drink one bottle.
One.
In a minute.
No, but when I do drink it, I just smash it, which is not good. Stop giving away all my secrets. That's why I'm such a failure at life.
She's a cheap date, but in every other department, she's a massive pain in the ass. It'd be kind of funny if you're still on the ground, that just happened to crash on his head.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that horrific weapon system I read about. You know, the
don't say with the railgun. That scares.
No, not the railgun.
Oh god, that scares the crap out of me.
The Project Thor that your country's working on. You know, the rods from God. That kind of, you know, the telephone pole-sized tungsten rods.
Which is like a giant satellite railgun. Don't tell me about that.
No, it's not. They just literally, they don't even launch them. They just drop them from orbit.
Well,
from
yeah, because
suborbit.
the oh my god.
It's just, no, it's gravity does it. It's a gravity weapon.
Oh my god.
But then, because tungsten's so dense, and because they drop from such a height, it basically acts like a small nuke in terms of the devastation. Obviously, none of the radioactive fallout.
Yeah.
It's just basically, it's a velocity weapon. It's just because tungsten's so dense and it's the size of a telephone pole. You drop it from that high. Well, it's like when a meteor hits, kind of thing.
Oh
like,
god.
If it's like, you know, even one the size. Well, the point is, a meteor the size of Texas could destroy the planet. Well, not even that. Half that size.
With all that money, they can't.
Armageddon reference.
Armageddon in sync. When NSYNC did that.
Wanna close my eyes.
Did you see that parody that they did years ago?
What?
NSYNC. I think it was like on one of those MTV or VH1 Music Awards. The NSYNC, they parodied that whole thing with Armageddon.
Did they?
Yeah.
I bet that was hilarious because they were always a good laugh, weren't they? They were cool. NSYNC. Like Justin Timberlake, this peroxide bubble perm.
Do you think that they would survive if there was ever such a thing like the boy band wars, like, you know, the same thing with the fast food wars and Demolition Man? Who do you think would survive?
But like a battle royale.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the worst thing is I'd watch that as a blood sport. I'd really watch that.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. We don't know if there's any kind of like crazy sort of like pastime. Like there's no like, obviously in this.
There's no NSYNC. There's no One
I was
Direction.
going to say there's no like reality TV. You just see the news. That's about it.
Yes,
There's
you don't really see what the culture's like, do you, that much? I think that is one minor criticism. They could have sort of shone a bit more of a light and just little tiny bits here and there just to show what the world was actually like, you know, in terms of just everyday kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would actually watch the boy band wars, the blood sport, though.
No, but seriously, who do you think would win?
Well, since I'm pretty much not up to date with any boy bands anymore, or weren't that much really, because
my money's
I'm
on
not
Boys to Men.
girl.
There you go.
Aren't they all about 60 now?
Doesn't matter.
The end of the road.
Didn't Backstreet Boys do a Doritos commercial?
I don't know.
Recently, I'm pretty sure they did.
You have different TV to me.
How is that possible? You guys have the same amount of crap TV.
No, we don't.
Oh, you're probably right.
We have
do
plenty of
more.
crap. Don't get me wrong. We have loads of crap, but you guys have got us beat on that front on just sheer volume. Don't know, our TV is garbage. Stone Throne.
Which has been drawn to
Are
death.
those testicles?
No, those are. I think those are cross sections of his eyes.
They look like testes to me.
No, I actually think that's cross.
I love it if, like, for some reason, the rest of the body parts gets destroyed. And, like, Akira is just like a pair of floating sentient testicles with psychic powers. That'd be the worst way to die, wouldn't it? Have your head exploded scanner style by a pair of floating nads.
We thought it was in the cranial stem, but actually,
it's in the balls. Most psychically powerful scrotum in the world.
It was in his second head.
Yeah, pretty sweet, huh? That's no Terminator.
Actually, does look like the Terminator.
It does quite a lot, doesn't it?
I wonder if that was some of the inspo.
The fine Japanese tradition of the poor woman just getting completely screwed over every time. If she ain't getting raped, she's getting murdered. If she ain't getting raped or murdered, she's getting raped and murdered. That's pretty much the way it is.
It's kind of like, it's like she's just there as, you know, to move the middle characters.
It's one thing. This is the thing. It's one thing for, like, you know, the damsel in distress thing and like how, you know, antiquated that is. But at least, back over here, we just used to tie him to railway tracks or like kidnap him as a princess. Over here, they just get brutally violated and then usually not only die, but die particularly horribly as well. Like, you might, I can't remember what I saw. It might be Ninja Scroll where it's just like Kigero and it like, I was like, fucking hell. It's like, Jesus.
Well, I was also shocked at the amount of like kids that also die in these stories as well. Like, it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's like that's the story that we're telling. It's not just men or women. It's also kids. It's animals. Like, it's a dark story.
They are dark, aren't they? The Japanese, their stuff. I love the way that the
know,
wires get intertwined with the concrete and everything.
Now, I don't know if you've ever read this before or have seen the
Shoot me in the metal arm. That'll do it.
OVA, but this also, I'm sure this was inspired. Well, Angel Sanctuary was probably inspired by this slightly. That's a very interesting comic. A lot of people know what it's about. I won't spoil it for you.
Well,
let's just say
that sounds ominous and depressing.
Yeah, it's well, you just read it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets saved. Random cop dude gets saved. Canada can hit him from there. But
yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, I know. Like, I looked after you when you were a kid and all this stuff, but I'm definitely willing to like kill you for the sake of.
In the film, he seems pretty okay with straight up murdering. Yeah, there isn't much resistance to it at all.
Yeah, like, exactly.
It's not like is there any other way. It's like, well, looks like he's mad now.
He's crazy. Got to put him down.
To laser him to bits.
I know.
God, it looks so cool doing my sideways skid thing.
I know when he drifts, it's so cool.
Neo Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, shame on me for making a Fast and Furious reference. There's a crossover. Tetsuo, we're family. We're family.
Family.
There you go. Tetsuo's played by Vin Diesel with a really bad hairpiece. You watch it. And Canada's played by a hologram of Paul Walker. What do you reckon?
What's his name? I bet you just Tyga's gonna get all his like friends. It's gonna be Jermaine Clement. Yeah, Clement. He's gonna be. Oh my god.
Right, and I know that people aren't gonna agree when I say this. Like, I'm a big fan of Taika Waititi. Right, those are nuts. I don't care about it.
They're optic nerves.
I'm a big fan. I mean, I think What We Do in the Shadows is absolutely hilarious. But I do kind of think he's sort of one note. I think he's excellent at his kind of comedy. He's very, very funny. But I didn't like Thor Ragnarok because I thought visually it was great, but he turned it into too much of a goofball kind of comedy, and it was like, in fact, if you like that, fair enough, more power to you, But oh god, the fingers with fingers on it.
Horrific rebirth, because I don't know if you noticed before, you saw his drooping ball sack mutate.
How did I miss the drooping ball sack?
That's the most famous thing. You see the testicles kind of melting.
Do we see his ball sack? Do we see his ball sack? Red letter media. It's like it's getting crushed. It's so gross. It's like cilia and stuff like that. Anyway, the point is, Taika Waititi, I like him a lot, but I think he's a sort of guy who, like, given the right film, he'd do a great job, but I don't think he's that versatile. Be my point. I definitely don't think he'd be the right choice for Akira. I don't. Again,
I think maybe visually.
Poor Kari, she's just screwed. And just like she gets crushed in a massive sphincter.
Yeah, and she doesn't die quite horribly this way. She still dies pretty badly in the comics.
Crushed to death.
Yeah, okay. In the comics, she's shot in the back.
Yeah, neither have ever happened to me. Pretty sure I'd rather get shot in the back than crushed to death into a giant anus.
Yeah, a giant mutating anus.
Yeah, cancerous fucking sphincter. But yeah, this is like Cyber Cronenberg, isn't it?
Yeah, so, it's just absolutely horrible.
Again, kinda. Couldn't have done that quicker, mate. Couldn't do that earlier. Before Kari got crushed to death. And yeah, you got this weird rebirth, but it's also, see, I mean, I don't know if this is a commentary on like post Second World War kind of,
Right.
you know, nuclear mutations from like, because all the, cause it was, obviously there's a whole generation of babies born with, on the outskirts of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like with, you know, horrible birth defects. And, you know, this was just over 30 years after that happened.
Yeah, hard to actually believe that.
Well, not
too.
even when he started writing the manga.
Yeah, I know.
So bear in mind, he probably had the idea a year. So he probably had the idea no later than 81, maybe 80, you know? So, and of course, like post-World War II, that's why manga, well, comic books and animation became such a thing, because, you know, radio was knocked out, TV was knocked out because of the EMP, and obviously the actual physical destruction. So it became the premier source of entertainment. Do you know what I will say? It's a weird one. There's Akira, this weird translucent body.
Yeah, the only time you see him fully formed in the
You're right.
film
There can't be testicles because he doesn't have any there.
besides also in flashback scenes where he seems like a very happy-go-lucky kid.
Like, they took my balls. They didn't put them in a jar. It's like they just threw them away or something. Why would they do that? Yeah, sure.
Because also in the manga, in the comic,
I mean, that obviously looks like a nuclear blast as well, like a ground zero.
Yeah, it's implied that Akira, he's much colder, like a shell of his former self. Whereas in this, you see like he's more like, what would you call it, like a benevolent god? Like he's much more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, you see, the whole thing with Tetsuo is like he's only really, this is just kind of the proper awakening of his powers, which he doesn't really understand or at the very least can't control. Yeah. It's just like, look, even a little bit of skin coming out from one of the fingers wrapping around kind of. It's like, it's very Cronenbergian. Like, it's, I do like body horror stuff like, oh, we've got it. Oh, we've got to do Tetsuo, the Iron Man. You haven't actually seen that, have you?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's really, really good. And more importantly, it's only 65 minutes. 65 or 70. So, like, it's every film we've done is like near 2 hours. No, I mean, I'm not complaining because, like, Akira's a weird one because it's one of those films that I don't always feel in the mood for watching. It's like, you know what it is? It's like I wouldn't necessarily pick it off the shelf because on board or watch a movie. That wouldn't be my first choice. But then if someone had already put it on, I'd find myself sitting down and watching it anyway, you know, and...
I always find myself, if it's on TV and like I happen to catch it at any certain point, I just continue to watch it. It's
that's what I mean. Like, it's just like it's like, oh, you know, just watch it.
It is one of those films that it's very hard to look away.
I think it just pulls me in personally. Yeah. It's just so beautiful and so well done. So I think the story's great. And okay, the manga is better and more fleshed out, but I don't think you could, aside from the odd tiny nitpick, I don't think you could condense that series better into a 2-hour film
than what Otomo's done.
Done.
I agree, and it had to be him to do that.
You could make a couple of tweaks, a little couple of you could nitpick on a couple of smaller things, but there's no big plot thread that I go, oh god, that whole scene there or that whole bit there is dumb. Or, you know, it is. I mean, like, I really don't throw this word around easily, but I genuinely do feel it's an absolute masterpiece. I really do. I mean, but it does suck you in because of the quality of the animation as well.
The sad thing about traditional animation is that you would think that after a certain point that this would have been, like, it would have stuck around a lot more, but because of, like, corporations and advertising and merch, or specifically toys, that it kind of killed the industry. I mean, that's also condensing it.
And this
There's
is really
a lot
quite
of other
adult as well. I think
Yeah.
the themes as well don't relate as much to like. So it's not just it's violent. It deals a lot of quite mature themes that I think would go over the head of a lot of. I
Right.
know it went over my head when I first
Sure.
saw it. Like when I was like about 11 or something. Like I didn't pick up on everything, so I wasn't as well educated on say Japanese
Yeah.
history and culture. So I didn't a lot of things I didn't quite understand at that
My
age.
guess, my point is, it's like, why didn't this sort of become like the norm or a
Like
trend?
a benchmark sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Where you would have more adult animated films like in the West, and also other animation companies really pushing themselves to do this. Like, or like, for example, you see like in European countries, you have governments actually giving grants and funding projects if they know
Sure.
that it's going to bring in.
I think. Do you know what I think it is? I think it did well. It did. It made a profit. But I don't think and this is just my guess. I don't know. I'm not basing this on any actual knowledge. My guess would be that it did well enough. It made a profit, but maybe they still didn't have enough confidence in it. Like, although it made a profit, it didn't like make a silly, stupid profit where like it just became an absolute international like absolute smash.
Sure.
It did well. It made a solid profit. It was very competent, but
Like, it seems like
it took time for. I think but it took time. It's only a few years after that it really gained the true fandom
right.
that it has now. I don't think it had that instant engagement with a lot of people at the time.
Sure, but I also just mean in general, where hand drawn stuff, like traditional animation, like why, you see more people. It's not to say that CG or computer animated stuff doesn't take a lot of time to do. It just seems like studios were much more keen on pumping money into that.
Yeah, but look at it this way though, right? Anime is still niche now, and it's become. It's not nearly as niche as it was 30 years ago, but it's still considered quite niche. Like cult following is too small. That implies it's too small. But the point is, it's still not mainstream in the West, is what I'm saying, I think. And then what Western studios I've noticed have done with their animation over the years is, like we do, is we've taken elements, successful elements, from Japanese animation and employed it into our Western animation. And I think like we've nicked the good bits but still tried to pander to the largest audience. That's my opinion on it. And I mean, but look at the way movies are made now. No one takes chances anymore. We had this conversation the other day, don't we? And this is, although it is an excellent piece of cinema, it's a cyberpunk film, which at the time was, again, had its fan base, but wasn't mainstream. And it's an anime film, which to the West, in the late 80s, was, even in America, it was still relatively early days in terms of you guys really having a fan base of it. It wasn't, it's still really especially niche back then. And it hadn't even, if you were someone like me living in England, if you want to get hold, you'd have to be like a super fan. I mean, you'd have to track this down. You'd have to probably have like a pen pal in America, or get a certain kind of like Yank magazine or something like that, and I'd probably have to mail order it or something like that. I mean, you'd have to be like a committed fan and probably spend well over the odds. Spend about 30 quid, 40 quid at the time just to get a VHS copy of this. So I just think it wasn't, the fandom wasn't there at the time on that scale internationally, is my very long-winded roundabout opinion on the whole thing. Oh, I know I went on for too long.
I think in America, no, I'm sorry. I just think in America in general, they just look at it like this. It's like, yeah, but how can we sell toys? Can we?
Well, no, but it was a way there, wasn't it, in the 80s?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, because like, I was born in the early 80s. I used to watch Thundercats and He-Man and Transformers and Brave Star and you name it. when I was a kid, and they were all based on toy lines. The cartoon series come after.
Well, even in the 90s too. Like, look at Mighty Max.
Well, actually, even a lot of the more recent, in the last few years, DC
Yeah,
animated series, Beware the Batman, the Green Lantern animated series, both which were brilliant, really good. They cancelled Young Justice as well. Or like
they brought it back though.
Yeah, but recently though.
Yeah, very recent.
The Thundercats remake 2011, which was amazing, and as someone who grew up as a little kid with the original Thundercats series, come at me, but the 2011 one was just better in every way, and it was.
There was the
but
stories
then
were
the toys never sold. That's the point. They cancelled it because the toys never sold.
And it was beautiful too.
But then across the board, that's the reason why all of them got cancelled.
Yeah, because that's what they look at. It's like, oh, can we sell merch? Can we sell clothes? Can we sell this? I mean, I wasn't going to say like that's the only reason why Rick and Morty does so well. Like, obviously, there are other reasons why it does well.
With all the, probably like the Funko Pops and the T-shirts and the plushies. Yeah. As if they haven't made a fortune through that.
Yeah, I'm sure that, again, studios are mostly looking at that like, oh, look at that. You know?
Because merch has a higher profit margin.
Yeah.
Well, the point is, if you just had to make something like that live through DVD and Blu-ray sales alone, the amount of money that goes into making that,
right,
you'd have to sell so much.
Yeah.
Just to keep it going through sales alone. Yeah, your bike's all messed up, lad. Got a jag bike. See, now you see like a knackered Tokyo. This is the most best establishing shot that you see in the whole film of Tokyo.
Yeah. Well, I like this part, especially because then this is when you hear Tetsuo speak again, or for the last time, and he's obviously transcended. He's a new type of being now.
See, it's one of those films that I think, like, I liked it when I was... Well, I liked it when I was a kid, but I didn't know why. And then in my very early 20s, when I bought it again, I appreciated it more from what it was trying to do, because I understood the themes a lot better. But obviously, over the years, my appreciation of it, even though I always liked it, but my appreciation of it has only ever grown and grown. Like, it really is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'd probably venture to say, in my opinion, well, just for me, it's still probably like the best anime movie I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, in terms of like hand drawn stuff and just like,
and thematically as well, because obviously, you know, I don't know if any of you know this, but I'm a bit of a cyberpunk fan, hence the channel.
Just nudge, wink, wink.
Just in case that hasn't sort of set in yet. See, look at all the animators.
Yeah.
Some mad talent there.
Still not nearly as much as I thought, though.
Well, God, look at a Disney Pixar film. That would be about 3 times as many as that. And without in-betweeners. Oh, I was showing you some of that the other day. Dragon production? Who made the dragons?
Yeah. Usually most animators want to be keyframe artists.
See, that is, again, this is your wheelhouse, because I don't
well,
I don't know what that is.
Well, you're doing like the key pose. So instead of like, so for example, if your arm was moving, and obviously nobody's going to see this because we're off, you know, we're not in front of a camera, but you see the way that my arm moves. So imagine you have to do that. Yeah. This is first frame starts here, the middle frame, and then the last frame.
For those at home, Juju is moving her arm from by her side to up past her head. So in different positions.
The motion, the in-between stuff, that's what in-betweeners do.
Or just you fill in the gaps essentially from point A to point B and make it smooth.
To make the motion look.
Right.
I'm not really explaining it very well, but that's okay. I have a BA.
I was like, well, I don't know anything, and I understood you, so you can't be doing that bad.
Just not very eloquent. There you go.
Right. Ah, I understood fine. If you can explain it to me and I can understand it, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
I know nothing
animation
about animation
for dummies.
Yeah, so... Because we watched this again the other day, didn't we? Because I hadn't seen it in probably about a couple of years. And then before then, it was longer than that. Because it's one of those films that I'm glad I have in my collection. I don't get it out that often.
It's usually
and
on
as for the
TV.
film, no, but I don't get it out. No, but then it's something that I think like anyone who's interested in the genre and animation in general, it's a must own, really, isn't it? I mean, you just really need to own it.
Yeah. See, I'm going to be a snob and say you got to get the VHS.
I'm being a snob. You're being a hipster.
No.
Bruh, you've never seen Akira unless you've seen the original CRT on a 14-inch fishbowl TV on an old, obviously on Betamax.
Right. And you know me, I just hate when they clean up stuff way too much because then I think it.
There's Katsuhiro Otomo's masterpiece, and thank you for wading through this classic with us. We hope you've enjoyed it, and maybe we might have taught you at least one or two remotely interesting things.
You learned nothing from me.
Yeah, probably.
Absolutely
well,
nothing.
If you learned nothing from you, then they're probably in the minuses with me. Probably like forgotten how to dress themselves when they wake up tomorrow. Like deleted memories from them.
Oh, God.
That's how negative my input is.
They've lost brain cells. Jesus.
But, okay, well, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And please, if you like this, or like the video, click the bell icon. At the moment,
share, like, and subscribe.
Share, like, and subscribe, all that sort of stuff.
There you go.
At the moment, we're just putting out one video a week. We're hoping to expand upon that. We're just doing like one every Tuesday, but we're hoping to expand on that. But then Juju's going home in a week, so it's going to be difficult because I am in the north of England and she is in New York. So, star-crossed lovers and all that shit. So it's your heart breaks. But so, yeah. Anyway, we will be back next Tuesday with a whole new film. So we hope you enjoyed it. And I've said that 16, I'm really tired, 16 times now. So in the meantime, stay connected.
And peace out.
Peace out.
Bye.
Okay then, bye. Support the cyber revolution and look great while doing it by checking out our Redbubble shop down in the description.